When you are ready to engage in an interpreting assignment, the first thing you need to do is to find your ultimate hearing location. This location usually is you between the parties. If time allows it, introduce yourself with the Spanish speaker. While doing this, you will assess his accent and speech patterns. I often say, Hola, le voy a interpretar el día de hoy. Always interpret in the first person. If the Spanish speaker says, me duele la cabeza, don't interpret in the third person in English. He says he has a headache. Instead, interpret in the first person, I have a headache. If the teacher says, your son is often fidgety, is he that way at home too? Don't just interpret in the third person, la maestra dice que su hijo es muy inquieto, etc. Rather interpret, su hijo con frecuencia es muy inquieto. ¿Se comporta también así en casa? However, if in the middle of an interpretation you need to say something, maybe you need a restroom break, or you need them to repeat something for you, address yourself in the third person. For example, can you repeat that for the interpreter? Assume the role. Do your best to add intonation to your rendition. For example, if the Spanish speaker says, no sé qué hacer ya con mi hijo, don't just say flatly, I don't know what to do about my son. Instead of say it, I don't know what to do about my son. Be mindful not to cross over to the point where the party thinks you are mocking them. But a little intonation adds to your rendition. Now, even though you may know the answer to a simple question, interpret it instead of just reply out of your own initiative. For example, so today is Wednesday, right? Don't just answer yes. Instead, address the other party and say, entonces, hoy es miércoles, ¿verdad? Sometimes a role has been described as that of a repeating machine. I think a role is more complex than that. However, if you hear it, you need to interpret it in the other language. Disclose any appearance of a conflict of interest. If you happen to know any of the people who you are interpreting for, you need to disclose that information and text ABP translations so we can reassign you to another case. If the Spanish speaker you're interpreting for uses words in English, you need to repeat them within your interpretation, as the English speakers are focused on your rendition and not on the Spanish speakers. Don't get frustrated if you need to repeat a question or a statement many times over. Do not express your opinion about a case, a person, a client, or about their level of understanding. Your job is not to make sure the person understands what is being said, but rather to interpret what is said to the best of your ability without adding, omitting, or embellishing anything said. Do not accept any gratuity or additional money. Don't carry side conversations with a client while working in your interpreter's role, regardless of how harmless they may seem. If you don't understand an utterance, don't ask, what do you mean? Rather, ask for permission to inquire. For instance, you can say, the interpreter is not sure about a word used, may the interpreter inquire. If you're interpreting for more than one person simultaneously, when appropriate, make slight motions with your hand as to inform the parties who you're interpreting for. For example, occasionally clients, patients, or parents of a child may bring a family member or a friend for moral support. They may carry on a conversation with the person they brought for moral support. For example, después de aquí tengo que ir a la escuela de Raulito. Oye, pero ya casi se te acaba la gasolina. Sí es cierto, ahorita le digo a la maestra que nos tenemos que ir. You can interpret, after here, we have to go to Raulito's school. Yeah, but you're almost out of gas. That's right, I'm going to let the teacher know we gotta go. Sometimes, just by you looking attentively at the person or the party speaking suffices to inform the listeners whose statements are being interpreted by you. Never give a cultural opinion. Acknowledge when an assignment is beyond your capabilities. Just don't bluff your way through. If the venue is too small and the meeting seems rather informal, stay on task, play in the role regardless, and remember, interpret the concept and not just the words.